I wanted to talk about how my stance has changed from pro-life. It's not what you think it is. I didn't change to pro-choice. I'm leaning more towards the abolition side now, and I wanted to tell you why. And I wanted to give you something to think about. If you're a Christian who considers yourself pro-life, who understands and knows that abortion is murder, I would like you to ask yourself why you don't believe it should be treated as such. Or do you think it should be? Over time, I've been seeing things, and God has been revealing my own tendencies to have partiality as a woman who had an abortion myself, that I'm trying to have more compassion than even he has, and that's not my job. I can be tender-hearted, I can be loving, and I can help women to heal from having an abortion. But I can no longer sit back and watch more and more babies being murdered every year. And I can't sit back and watch these pro-life organizations that are so well known, that have a lot of power, sit back and say that women are victims. Because we're not. Not in most cases. They're fighting against, pro-life organizations are fighting against abolition of abortion and criminalization. They want only the abortionist to be charged with murder, or the boyfriend or man, whoever forces a woman. They want them to be charged with murder, but they want the woman to be the victim. They call the women the victim. And I'm sorry, but the abortionist isn't physically dragging women into the clinic. They're walking in there willingly. The abortionists aren't standing beside a woman holding, a gun to their head on the internet and making them buy pills online so they can be their own abortionist in the bathroom. The women are choosing to do that. And I'm tired of the dishonesty of these organizations where they'll post all over social media that, oh, another abortion clinic has closed down and we're winning, and they're lying. They're lying because the number of abortions are going up, not down. Those clinics are closing because abortion is more accessible online now, and women are buying the pills to kill their babies online, and there's no need for those abortion clinics. They're losing money if they stay open because it's more accessible online. 1.3 million babies died last year by abortion. And they don't even know if that's the actual number, because not all of these places that are sending out pills are actually reporting the numbers. 3,500 babies a day are dying in their own mother's womb and at their mother's hands. And people are looking the other way. And people are calling the women victims. And Christians are saying it's murder, abortion is murder. You're murdering babies in the womb. But mothers shouldn't be treated like they murdered their babies. So either you believe it's murder or you don't believe it's murder. You can't have it both ways. There's no other homicides that are treated like this. That are, okay, well, it's murder, but if you're the mother, it's not murder. It's murder, but it depends if the baby's, the other human beings want it or not. What other homicides are treated like that in this country? None. No other homicides depend on who the perpetrator is, and then, hand out justice accordingly. Murder is murder. Now, if a man gives a woman pills for abortion without her knowledge or forces it on her, he gets charged with homicide. But if she decides that very same day, before he has a chance to do it, that she's just going to order some abortion pills online and she doesn't want her baby, then it's fine. It's fine. Then it's not murder. If somebody murders a pregnant woman, they get charged with double homicide. Because it's two human beings. But in the case where the woman doesn't want that baby, it's not. And if a drunk driver hits a pregnant woman and kills them both, double vehicular homicide. But not if the woman doesn't want the baby. Where else in society do we base the value on a human being on whether a certain person wants them or not? Or their location, or their size, or development stages? Because we're developing as humans even outside the womb. We go into different stages of human development. So if a woman has a 2-year-old and says, you know what, this is just too hard, I don't want this baby anymore, I'm just going to kill my child, she gets charged with homicide. But honestly, you should see the excuses people are making for women that do this. The treatment of human beings inside the womb is going outside the womb. And people are starting to make excuses for murdering people outside the womb. And this is where we are in society. We're showing partiality towards women. They're allowed to murder their babies, but the man's not allowed to decide he doesn't want the baby. And even if he doesn't want the baby after it's born, he's forced to participate and pay for that child. But women are treated very differently, very special, very partial. What's supposed to be the safest place for us to be ever in our lifetime would be in the womb, and it's now the most dangerous place to be. And there's no accountability for it. And Christians say, and even people that aren't Christians that are pro-life say that it's murder, but they don't want the women treated as such. So that just tells me that I don't think you do believe it's murder. I think you're saying that because you know it's the right thing to say, and you know that's what God wants you to say. But if you don't want justice for that murder victim, then do you really believe that? And I think a lot of the compassion comes from the fact that, you know, that would make a lot of women have to look at themselves and say, you know what, I would be sitting in jail right now because I had an abortion. Or my daughter, or my friend, or somebody else, and they look at it and they're able to humanize the perpetrator of the murder. Not like, you know, the guy down the street that murders his wife and kids. You know, you look at him completely different, but if you have to look at it yourself and say, man, I could be in jail. I think that's what makes it hard for people. But the thing is when you come to the foot of the cross, you have to admit to being a murderer and accept that fact and repent. And see, the thing is that these organizations are lying and saying that, or not even so outright lying, but they're trying to make it sound like if women, or if abortion is criminalized, they're going to retroactively be dragging women into prison that had abortion years ago. And that's not true. That's a lie. That's a lie. And that makes me even more questioning what exactly these pro-life organizations are up to. Like, what is their goal exactly? Is it to enrich themselves and keep living the high life with their families, or do they actually want babies to stop being killed? Because this incrementalism isn't working. They've been trying incrementalism and trying to change hearts since 1973, and abortion rates are higher than they've ever been. And it's more accessible than it's ever been. And it's further along in the pregnancy, right up to birth in some states. And it was never like that before. There's no guardrails anymore. It's unregulated. It's out of control. And when these abolitionists are putting bills, trying to get these laws passed in certain states, the pro-life organizations are the ones stepping in and signing letters and saying, we don't want this. We don't want women criminalized. Please tell me, what is your goal? You don't want to end abortion. It seems to be a business model for some of you. I guess if it's outlawed, you won't have a paycheck anymore. Which is weird to me because, the pro-life pregnancy centers, they'd still have a job to do. They'd be they'd be doing what they're doing now. They'd be helping mothers in crisis pregnancies. And fathers, they'd be helping and doing what they do now, walking through these pregnancies and helping these women. But these big pro-life organizations don't seem to realize that they could pivot and do that too. They want to run their mouths on social media and act like they want to end abortion, but they don't. Because if they did, they wouldn't be stepping in and stopping these bills from being passed and calling women victims. We don't even need the pro-choice side to come in and fight against making abortion illegal. The pro-choice or the pro-life organizations are doing it for them. You don't even need pro-choicers to step in. Nobody's going to retroactively put anybody in prison. And what I want to know is, why do Christians think that prison is worse than hell? I mean, if a woman's unrepentant and she hasn't sought forgiveness for having an abortion and dies and stands in front of, the throne of judgment, and she hasn't repented, she's going to hell. I think prison is a cakewalk compared to that. But here's the thing. If it's criminalized, women aren't getting abortions. Women are being very much more careful about getting pregnant when they don't want to be. Women are being more selective about who they have sex with. They're being sure that they're taking their birth control and protecting themselves because they don't want to go to jail. And don't come at me with these, oh, well, there'll be women dying because they're going to get back alley abortions. Guess what? Drugs are illegal. And there's people dying from using drugs because that's a consequence of breaking the law and doing things that are bad for you. And the reason I'm being so harsh about this is because I know that those were lies in 1973 that abortionists made up so it would be legalized. They inflated the numbers of women getting back alley abortions and dying from them. Look up Bernard Nathanson. He's one of the abortionists that came out later and admitted he lied about the number of back alley abortions that were happening to try to get it legalized. He lied about it. And like I said, if you're that desperate, use that desperation before you get pregnant. And there are, like any other homicide hearing, they would take into consideration if a man or parents were forcing somebody to get an abortion. That would all be considered. And those people would be guilty too, along with the abortionist that does it. But that's the least of our worries. Just like I said, they're not dragging people in. People are willingly walking in, and some are being coerced. And those cases, they will find out that the men were coercing, and they'll be the one charged accordingly. But if you look through pro-life posts on social media, you'll see women are not victims. Most women are not victims. I was pushed, I was coerced, I was forced by a violent, abusive man. And I can tell you, If there was a chance that I could have gone to jail for that, my baby would still be alive today. He would be alive today. Because neither I nor the coward that pushed me would have taken a chance on going to jail. And I think if you're a woman who's had an abortion and you're feeling some kind of way with it, about this, you know, think about that. Do you think you would have had an abortion if there was a chance that you would go to jail for it? I don't think you would. I don't think most abortions would have happened if people could have gone to jail, if it was illegal. But if we believe it's murder, then it needs to be treated as such. Or you don't believe it's murder. It's time to get real about it, because these numbers are going up and babies are dying and they're being discarded and treated like trash. Just willy-nilly, people are having abortions. It's their form of birth control. There's no justice done for these millions and millions, 70 million babies since 1973 and counting. There's no justice for them. And the people that are claiming they're pro-life, they're not protecting them either. They're trying to have more compassion on the murderers than Christ has on them. God hates hands that shed innocent blood. These babies are all human beings created in His image. When you take the life of another human being, no matter their size, their location, the circumstances with which they were conceived, no matter what, it's murder. And there shouldn't be special treatment for certain murderers. In fact, it's more egregious for a child to be killed by their own mother in the most sacred, safe place they will ever be. Now, everybody that knows me knows I'm all about healing. Healing women, helping them heal from abortion, because it destroys your soul. It brings such a heavy burden of guilt and regret, and that's because we know what we did. We know we took the life of our own flesh and blood. And so many women could be saved from carrying that kind of torment if they were told, you're not allowed to do it or you're going to get arrested. I no longer can align with a lot of these organizations. They're thwarting the attempts to actually outlaw and criminalize abortion, and I just don't understand why. It makes me not trust them. It makes me not trust their purpose. Because if abortion is outlawed, they can pivot. Like I said, they can pivot their ministry model to walking with the women. But it's murder, and it needs to be treated as such. And Christians need to stop being partial to women. You can't treat a murderer different because of their relationship to their victim and whether they want their victim or not. Or whether their victim is going to cause them some sort of struggle in life. It's not how it works. God sees it as what it is. And if you're a Christian, you see things God's way through a biblical worldview. Take everything I said and pray on it and think about it. And know that no matter what, there's forgiveness and there's healing for an abortion you had, or one you participated in, or maybe you had your daughter have one and your grandchild was killed, or whatever. It's all available to you. But we can't take our own feelings and try to do away with what God says. And we can't change our opinion on something because somebody we loved is a perpetrator. It is what it is. And we need to stop supporting these big organizations that refuse to make women accountable and are going and purposely thwarting the attempts of abolitionists of being able to pass bills to abolish abortion. They're actively fighting against it, like a pro-choicer would. Just pray on it. Think about it. God bless.